Hi, welcome back to my channel. We have finally made it to part 5 of my witchcraft speech. So, let's begin. Another well-known witch would also come to found a tradition of witchcraft. Alex Sanders, born Oral Alexander Carter on June 6, 1926, told the story of his grandmother, Mary Bibby, wonderful name by the way, who taught him about the craft and initiated him at the age of 7 in a lurid sexual rite, drawing blood from his scrotum on her kitchen floor. This story is likely false, as he also claimed to have copied his Book of Shadows from her, though much of the poetry was written by Doreen Valiente in the 60s. Doreen Valiente was a high priestess with Gerald Gardner, and I also mentioned her in the last video. This story was likely a way to draw the media's attention away from his true initiation story, which probably came from a secret Gardnerian high priestess. I still very much believe this to be true. I've read King of the Witches by June Johns. I don't know if it's a first edition, but it's an old book. Like my copy is very old. And it's very interesting, but it doesn't make sense that Mary Bibby would have initiated him into witchcraft the way that, in the type of witchcraft that is Alexandrian and Gardnerian, because they're so closely related and they're two wildly different origin stories. It doesn't make sense. I do think it's very interesting, but again, yeah. Many people say that Mary Bibby, the grandmother, did probably teach him about different occult things, which does make sense. I don't know what she would have taught him about. Not sure, but he was a very skilled occultist. In the book it did say that he learned I won't go into that, but anyways. A young witch by the name of Maxine Morris would come to be Alex's high priestess and wife, the famed Maxine Sanders, Witch Queen. I didn't like the wording of that, but I needed to get in there that her name is Maxine Sanders and that she is Witch Queen. But I really like the title Maxine the Witch Queen. It's a book that I don't have a copy of. Unfortunately, I can't find it anywhere. But I would love to have a copy of it. But love Maxine, she's lovely. As you may have noticed, I have only referred to the craft as such, the craft. This is where it gets very prickly. Our religion is witchcraft. This may ruffle a few feathers, but there is no such thing as a religion called Wicca. That wording, I believe, comes from Lori Cabot. She, I believe, still has a YouTube channel. She's an older woman, but, wonderful, skilled witch. Very magical woman. I don't think she runs the YouTube channel, but she's in the YouTube videos, and she is very informational. Yeah, I'll link the YouTube channel if it still exists in the description. As I stated before, Wicca, properly pronounced as Wicca, is an Old English word for a male witch. I also forgot to mention Wiccan, W-I-C-C-A-N, would have most likely have been spelled W-I-C-C-I-A-N, or yeah, I-A-N, and it would have been pronounced Witchian, and it means multiple witches. There you go. With the establishment of the Church of Satan in 1966 and the growth of the church into 1980, followed by the satanic panic of the 80s to the early 90s, many people became fearful of witches again, as Anton LaVey, the founder of the church, called his followers witches. So this was very upsetting because there was already a religion founded that called its adherents witches. So he kind of took the name witches to... I don't even know why he took the name, but there was already a religion reclaiming that word, and so he tried to reclaim it, and it it made everyone upset. So, to the initiates of the craft, the word Wicca was sacred, and it was a way to identify themselves to other initiates without discrimination from outsiders. From the danger of persecution, there came a disconnect between witchcraft and what is now called Wicca. What many people tell you today is that witchcraft is a practice and a witch is a person who practices magic, and often follows the definition of witchcraft by English colonizers who label all kinds of folk magic as witchcraft. Wicca, they will tell you, is a religion that Gerald Gardner created in the 1950s. What these people often forget is that Gardner never referred to his followers as Wiccans. He never referred to his religion as Wicca. They were always witches, and it was always witchcraft. The elders of the craft wrote books, and there are books about them, such as Witchcraft Today by Gerald Gardner, The Meaning of Witchcraft, also by Gerald Gardner, Witchcraft for Tomorrow, The Rebirth of Witchcraft, both of those are by Dorian Valiente, The King of the Witches, which I mentioned, by June Johns, it's about Alexanders, and so on. So those are some books that I haven't read all of them, haven't gotten around to it, I haven't been able to find all of them, but highly recommend books by the elders, or about the elders. Continuing. These books are about witchcraft, not Wicca. Many people will light some colored candles, maybe wear a pentacle necklace, and call themselves witches without ever reading a book and understanding the sanctity of what they were doing. This comes from Christian Day. He says he is a very famous witch, started in Salem, trained with Laurie Cabot, now lives in New Orleans, and is a priest in the Alexandria New Orleans coven. Very powerful, like I said. Very controversial, but I quite like him. And in his interview with a coven that's on Hex Education, he says, I can't remember his exact wording, but he's essentially saying oh, you'll light some candles, wear a pewter pentacle, but they'll never read a book. Most social media witches get their philosophy from memes or Tumblr posts, and practice magic without training. He also said that in his video. While there is nothing wrong with do-it-yourself witchcraft, it is far different from the ways of the priesthood of the witch cult. I still stand by this, what I just said. That's the end of the speech, because as I said in the initial video, the original conclusion, garbage. Hate it. Never liked it. I had to rewrite it multiple times. Yeah, I stand by this. I don't think there's anything wrong with do-it-yourself witchcraft. I think the issue is when people start appropriating from other religions. That's where it becomes an issue. But as long as you're raising power and you're making something work, that's what's important. Not everyone can do that. Yeah, it's just what people call witchcraft when they're making it all up as they go. It's not Alexandrian Gardnerian witchcraft. Even the Cabot tradition started by Laurie Cabot is not Alexandrian Gardnerian witchcraft. It's a very different breed of witchcraft, but again, still very powerful. And power, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. What else? Scott Cunningham, he wrote, I believe it was Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner, something along those lines, but Wicca in the title, and about solitary practice. He was kind of the first one to say that Wicca is a religion and witchcraft is a practice. And it's not a true statement. But his credentials, he worked with Llewellyn, who, Llewellyn's the publisher of many, many books on metaphysical subjects. Dogs barking, it's fine. I don't really like a lot of Llewellyn books, but I'll read them if I know they're by a good author. Even Weiser's a little iffy. But if they're a good author, I read them. But anyways, Scott Cunningham he worked with Llewellyn. Llewellyn, I believe, was initiated by Lady Sheba, but Lady Sheba is just a bit shady. Don't really know much about her personally. I believe I do know more about her. It's just that I can't think of it off the top of my head. I haven't thought about her in a while. I feel like in my videos so far, it's been a lot of I'll have to research this. And most of these things I do know. It's just that I haven't read up on them in a while, so I've just kind of forgotten about them. And I don't want to spew wrong information because this channel is about correct information and what I know to be true and from research that I've done. So yeah, I think that's a good way to end this video, and this concludes my witchcraft speech. So if you have stuck it out through all of this, I know it's long, but I'm just trying to give the best information I can. And if you stuck it out through all of this, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And yeah, blessed be until the next video.